Welcome back to the Ed Morrissey Show podcast, beaming you up to the Starfleet Academy discussion with Cranky T-Rex, our old great friend Cranky T-Rex, Chris, who used to help me out with all the audio stuff on my computer until I finally stopped playing with it. Left it alone. Chris, welcome back.
Thanks. It's good to be back. It's been a bit, and the last time we were about to do this, I had the perfect intro, but we didn't end up doing it, and it was, I was late because the Secret Service wasn't going to take me back to the studio, and I had to dive through the window and take the wheel and twist it, and try and turn us around. And that's how long it's been since we last talked about doing one of these. Is when that story had just come out.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, that was 5 years ago, I guess, isn't it? Yeah, it's been a beat, that's for sure. But there is one power in the universe that we could not withstand. We had to get together and do a Cranky and Ed review of Starfleet Academy, the newest Star Trek series. Is it really even a Star Trek series? I mean, honest to God, this thing is so awful. One Trek Hill, Dawson's Trek,
Star Trek 90210.
Star Trek 90210. I mean, there's all sorts of different, party of Trek. This is such an awful show. And what I found, and correct me if I'm wrong, Cranky, you've only seen the pilot episode, right? The 1 hour and 15 minutes.
That was as much as I was going to give you, because anything else required money.
Yeah.
And the only reason I don't already subscribe to Paramount Plus is because of what I've been watching them do to Star Trek for the last 10, 15 years now. Wow. So there's like stuff on there I want to watch, like Landman and the Jeremy Renner show. And the junk on CBS, like Fire Country, that we like to watch and make fun of, that came over to Netflix. And we would subscribe for all of that, except for there are things like Starfleet Academy over there. And I just cannot bring myself to subsidize the production of this stuff. I don't know. You ask if it's a Star Trek show. It's not a Star Trek show. It hasn't been Star Trek since sometime around Enterprise. I mean, I guess you can count Enterprise, but
it's Kurtzman Trek. It's Kurtzman Trek. It's Kurtzman Trek, yeah. And it was Abrams Trek before that. And you and I talked about the Abrams Trek stuff, right? Because we joked around. There was, I think, the Babylon Bee had something on Abrams's reboot of the series that Star Trek fans outraged that new film is entertaining.
Yeah. But it's funny you bring that up, because in the video I've been working on about all of this, that's one of the things that always irked me about that whole thing. It's like, yeah, Star Trek was boring to normal people, but to Star Trek fans, it was fun because we like to think about things in obsessive and exhaustive detail. And that's kind of what Star Trek was a thing about. Like it was a philosophy show wrapped in a space Western. So yeah, you had your hot alien babes and you had your fisticuffs and laser guns and aliens and stuff. But usually what it did was it would confront you with some philosophical question, whether it was something ridiculous like, oh, like what if we left one of our books on a planet and they decided to make that their Bible, and we come back 10, 20 years later or whatever, and like it's the mob planet now because they think that the book on mobs is the thing that they run their life by. And it would just be a fun thing to explore and think about, like all of the different intricacies of how that might work. Starfleet Academy does not want you to think at all, because you will have an aneurysm.
I mean, we haven't even got into why this is bad, but I will tell you this. It got worse in episodes 2 and 3.
I don't think that's possible.
No. It's very, 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 very possible. First off, it didn't have Paul Giamatti in either one of those 2 episodes.
The only actor in this whole thing that is even trying, it seems like everybody else.
He's not even trying. He's chewing the scenery because there's nothing else going on. I mean, that whole sequence where he's holographically on the bridge of the Athena. This is the first episode. This is one y'all can watch for free if you really want to dive into it.
Please don't.
That's still for free. Yeah, it's 1 star. Do not recommend.
negative 5 stars.
I
run away screaming.
I have that hot air. The things that I've adapted, the 1 through 5 thing, right, or 1 through 4, I think it is for streaming shows. And I said, I rated a 1 because I can't go lower on this scale. And somebody says, you really have to have a 0 nuke it from space, which I think was appropriate. It's just so bad. And there's a couple things wrong with the pilot that actually are still in episodes 2 and 3, but aren't the worst parts of episodes 2 and 3. But let's start with the whole premise. Star Trek Starfleet Academy is a premise that sounds like a side quest to a, LARP adventure where you're just developing characters that are going to go into the larger gamer universe, right? I mean, this is something where you create your character in Starfleet Academy, you go through, tests and trials.
It's your tutorial. It's your tutorial level.
It's your tutorial. It's where you get your you do your number rolls to see, where you're at, what your strength level is, what your intellect level is. It's a D&D thing. So, but you develop your character and then you import that character into a larger game, because Star Trek has always been about exploration, right? I was joking around with
Boldly
Kurt
go
about this.
Right?
Yeah. To boldly go where no man has gone before. And apparently that is that motto is only being applied to the instructors now at Starfleet Academy, where the girls are all bosses, the boys are all problematic, and the instructors are all lesbians and date each other. I am not joking around about that. That is episode 3 is where that all comes out. You got Worf, the Klingon character who's a pacifist, who's apparently also gay. Everybody in this thing is gay. Did you ever see the movie? What was the name of it? In and Out with Kevin Kline and
yes,
it's a very fun movie. I really enjoyed that movie. Right?
Yeah.
Because it went into a place that I didn't actually expect it to go. Halfway through the movie, I expected them to explore the masculinity, but not make him gay, and they ended up making him gay. Spoiler alert from 15, 20 years ago, whatever.
The 90s now.
Yeah, the 90s, right? And there's this one line that Joan Cusack has at one point where she's trying to hit on somebody at the bar after the aborted wedding, and it's Magnum.
Magnum.
Tom Selleck's character, who's also gay in this, right? And she's trying to hit on him, and he has to explain to her that he's gay. And the next thing you see is she's standing outside the bar, screaming into the night.
Pretty much, yes. In modern entertainment.
On Starfleet Academy, it's fine I have no problem with representation in that sense, but literally this is representation for representation's sake. It's over-representation. It's the girl boss thing never ends. It only gets worse. It gets worse in episode 2. It's even worse in episode 3, but it's present in episode 1 too. And I guess, where do you want to start? Obviously we're going to focus on episode 1 because that's the one you've seen. And I already had Paramount Plus, which is the reason why I've seen the other 2 episodes. But where do you want to start?
Well, I will just say, as an aside to that, there's a lot of there's this thing that's always going around whenever we criticize these shows that, Star Trek was always political, it was always woke, it was always diverse and inclusive.
It was progressive. Well, yeah, I mean, I get that. That's fine.
But that's a misinterpretation of what it was. It's not the same thing we're talking about today.
Right.
Like the reason the bridge of the Enterprise is diverse is not so that people can look at that character and see themselves in that, or to balance some cosmic scales of injustice or something. It was literally just to tell you the civil rights conflict is over, the Cold War is over, World War II is over. These things are distant memory for these people, so that's why they're here. It's not like, we need to have a black female on the bridge to because demographics in Los Angeles say we should have at least one, probably 5, but it's just to tell you we are in the far future. None of these things matter anymore. And the whole show is like that, in the sense it's progressive, but it is progressive in the sense that it is looking ahead to an optimistic future where all of these problems have basically been solved. And it's not like a condemnation of the present. And that's how these people view this. And that's why it's like, we have to have this character. We have to give this particular representation. We have to do this particular type of person. And it's not for any reason other than that. It's not for a story reason. It's not for like I had this idea for this character and they just happen to fit this mold. It's not this actor walked in and they just blew us away with the audition. It's just oh well, you know, our bridge doesn't look diverse enough. And that's a huge problem for these shows because you get the worst people when that's how you're casting and that's how you're building these characters out. That's why they're so one-dimensional.
It's you get the worst characters. Now, I'm not going to necessarily impugn the acting chops of the people who are filling these roles because I can't tell. I don't know if the problem is acting or if the problem is writing. I'm pretty sure that it's both, but it's definitely writing. The writing is terrible on this thing. And again, I'm not even sure where to start because this is so bad.
You saw what happened when I got to the end of watching it. You saw what I said. I was like, this is so awful. I don't even know where to begin other than to just say F the whole time that we're on the show. I'm trying to keep it clean. I really apologize to everybody if it goes off when we get into some more specifics, but like there was at least 1/1000th of the profanity in my tweet thread than there was actually sitting here watching the show at the time.
What did your wife have to say about it? I mean, was she listening to you?
No, she was asleep.
Oh, good for you.
I waited until she was in bed. I was up in my office and I'm like, she doesn't need to be put through this. But I couldn't believe I just couldn't believe how long it took me to watch an hour.
I can believe it because you needed to stop and comment. Yeah, it was.
You talked about bad writing. Let's just start with the plotting because that was like the first thing that comes up. It's happened so often in the franchises now. They don't know where the show starts. So like this show begins and you have this scene that doesn't make any sense where the mom is with the little kid. We don't know who they are yet. And she's basically showing us that they're down on their luck and all of that kind of stuff. You know, typical this kid is going to be important kind of thing.
Right.
And they're going to get broken up because that's just the tone they're setting. Fine, whatever. They go into this room, they meet Holly Hunter's character, who walks in like she's a judge and that she's handing down sentence to Paul Giamatti, who's there for some reason also. And then she turns to them and she's like, oh yeah, you're going to the Federation rehab colony. We're going to split you up. That was the best that I could get them to do. And then I stop and I go, well, what? Like, are you a judge? Are you their lawyer? Like, who are you in this? This is how bad like your writing is that I don't even know who you're talking about. So we do all of this thing that ends. And then we cut to the future where the kid's all grown up. And now he's a thief and a renegade and all standard tropes. Right. And it's like the first thing they do as soon as we are introduced to them is we get the floating, like literal plot exposition device that floats over and is like, yeah, he's a criminal and he's been, in and out of prison for his whole life. And we're going to tell everything that you just learned or that you should learn later about him again.
Right.
And then they do the action sequence and then we're going to cut to the title screen. It's like, well, the first 10 minutes, that doesn't happen. If you're going to do hey, he's all grown up and we're going to reintroduce that he's the show begins here. Why does it begin? And then again, we're going to recruit Holly Hunter. We don't need to do this scene at all. We get to, because we're going to immediately have her go and break him out of prison. And again, it's like, okay, this is where the show actually should start. You should have started with the plot exposition device of her walking in saying he's been in trouble his whole life. And this is the last time I'm going to bail you out. You're going to go to Starfleet Academy or you're going to rot here in prison. And then the show starts from there. But there's like 30 minutes of this redundant nonsense that we have for something that doesn't make any sense because the whole setup for here is we're going to go find mom. Well, you're going to Starfleet Academy. When you're going to have time to do that? Like,
yeah, I mean, none of this makes any sense, right? I mean, first off, in a world where the Federation has replicators, nobody should be going hungry, right?
Yeah.
So the idea that they were starving on some place where the Federation was in control would have been a fairly easy problem to solve, right?
Yeah. It's like, oh, I got to go hijack a ship and kill some Starfleet people to get some supplies that are in the I'm like, you're not just stealing, you're not just like breaking in and taking a replicator and taking off. Like,
just take a replicator, just steal a replicator. I bet it's not even grand theft in the 33rd century.
And worse than this, it's the 33rd century. So it's how many hundreds of years since the next generation, right? Where they had the replicators, the technology should be so advanced now that it shouldn't even require power anymore. It should be so like you should have one in your combadge. Be like, beep beep, I want a cheeseburger. Whee!
Well, apparently somebody thought that, because one of the best and brightest of the recruits of Starfleet Academy swallowed her combadge. I'm not sure. Was that in the first episode or was that in the second episode?
That is in the first episode. Yeah, and the worst thing about it, she says that to the doctor, Robert Picardo. Why do you have to come and ruin another legacy character, my man? But she says that to him. Did you catch his reaction?
Again?
That makes it. Yes, it is 10 times worse because it's he doesn't, and it's not even again. It's already.
Already. Oh, that's right. It's already. That's right. It's already.
This has happened more than once, but this happens so routinely with this Starfleet that it's only remarkable that it's happened. It's happened before she's actually like taking classes or something. Are they? Is there like a really high stakes poker game at Starfleet Academy where it's like, okay, if you lose, you're gonna have to eat your combadge? Like,
I have no idea. Well, this is part of the other thing too with combadges, right? How does the 6-year-old get away in the first place? He steals Holly Hunter's combadge, who's centuries old. It's established she's like 400 or 500 years old, right? Because they live a lot longer and all this kind of stuff. Steals her combadge. Somehow the 6-year-old knows to use it to unlock some sort of pod to escape. And then nobody apparently thinks about using a transporter or a tractor beam to pull the pod back and bring the kid in. And she spends 15 years feeling guilty about betraying the kid when the kid
left of his own.
Yeah,
it's another one of these things. It's like you're setting up this classic trope. Oh, I feel so guilty that I split up this family. Well, first of all, it's like it's one instance in 500 years of living. I don't think it's going to hit you that bad. But second of all, he left of his own accord. You said he's going to be at the orphanage, like, and you're going to have visitation or whatever. I mean, actually, no, she said he'll become a ward of the Federation, which itself is an obscenely ridiculous line because the Federation is a galactically spanning multi-planetary government. Like, what are they doing?
Well,
CPS
it's sort of
for?
like saying you're going to be the ward of the EU.
Yeah, like no, it's worse than that. It's more like the UN. Like every country on the planet is going to be somehow in charge of your. It should be, hey, she's going to the penal facility on Bajor, and you're going to go to the little school 5 minutes up the street or one transport away from the penal facility, and you're going to have visitation every Saturday and Sunday or something. Instead it's like,
mom, you'll see mom on the weekends. I mean, because it's a rehab facility, which
is already dumb because she's a first-time offender who was just caught up in something, and you're going to send her to a rehabilitate. What is she going to be rehabilitated for? Like, don't trust Paul Giamatti again? I think that was handled right. Like,
did you think she figured that much out, right?
It seemed like she was pissed at him by that point, and she's all, I didn't know that he was very good at getting us food, but not telling me how we would get the food. Like, he didn't say we're going to go steal it from a ship. Like, did you not know when you beamed on the ship what you were doing? Like, all of the dialogue just makes you go, wait, what? What did you say?
Well, I mean, just none of it makes sense. The idea that a 6-year-old kid's going to deke out I think she was an admiral at the time, or she may have just been a captain at the time. But I mean,
with the old, hey, my teddy bear is in the other room. Can you go get it?
Yeah, let me cry on your shoulder. And now I'm missing my teddy bear. Can you go get it for me?
And you don't notice the combadge was removed.
Wouldn't it have alerted as soon as she tried to get out through the door? I mean, this is a holding area, right? Presumably the combadge was her access to get in and out as part of the facility.
My thing is was it a pod? Because I thought it was just an airlock, but there's no actual airlock. It was just like a force field that he walked up and he went weep, and then the force field goes away, and he gets sucked out into space. Like, what actually happened there? Did I miss something? Because I thought he just got sucked out into space, and I'm like, okay, well, he's dead. But even if he's not dead, they could just beam him right back in.
Well, and that brings us to what happens at the end of the episode, but we'll get there eventually. Because that whole thing at the end of the episode, and believe me, I was waiting for you to get to that because I knew you were going to have a hell of a good time ripping that part to shreds. But
I was waiting to see it because you put it in the review that it happened.
Oh, that's right.
I'm like, I know this is coming, but I don't know when it's coming. So
yeah, space sucks.
Yeah.
It really does. I mean, literally, I assumed that what he did was get in an escape pod, because that's kind of what Paul Giamatti does.
But we see him getting an escape pod, even though that shouldn't make any sense either, because none of the kids can do anything on this ship without an adult present, including getting into a EVA suit, which you would think would be one of those things. Hey, the ship just got a hole in it. You might need one of those to put it on. Oh no, you need to have a teacher with you. So guess what? You just get to suffocate in space. Have fun. So at the beginning, I don't remember. I don't want to have to go back and watch, but I swear it was literally just a force field. He turned off the air in the room gets sucked out, and then she comes in.
The air in the room did get sucked out. You're right about that.
So I'm pretty sure he just and for me, that what my thought process is, wait a minute. You have a control panel on any wall of this ship that you can just badge in, and in 5 seconds, it's going to just turn the force field off and just let the place be sucked out. Like the door doesn't close. There's no airlock here. It's not like a concentric force field. He has to turn one off, go through that, and then turn the next one off. No, just the wall disappears and everyone gets sucked out into space because a 5-year-old's got a combadge that he's not supposed to have.
At least Galaxy Quest got that much right.
Galaxy Quest got everything right, because the people who made Galaxy Quest were clearly Star Trek fans who knew the line between poking fun at the thing and actually caring about the thing. Yes. Whereas these people don't care about the thing and they hate you. So they're gonna they're gonna tell you at every opportunity that they hate you.
All right. So first off, the whole setup for this is stupid. You've got, after that, you get kids on a starship, which turns out to actually be the Academy building. It actually docks in San Francisco.
You saw I had a section when I decided to break this down called "What the Actual Fuck."
Yes,
that was the biggest one. Is they're flying back and they go into the atmosphere. I'm like, what? Wait, no, they're not actually just gonna. And then they don't just land. It's not just like it parks at a spaceport. It literally lands on the campus amongst all the other buildings and just like settles in as if it's always there.
Yeah. Why would you build a starship for a building? I mean, economically speaking, there's a vast amount of investment that would have to go into a starship that you don't necessarily need for just a campus building. So this is the reason why you build buildings for the surface and starships in space, where you really don't want them coming into the atmosphere anyway, because, you see this
whole different environment.
Yeah, well, not only that, but you see this whole thing gliding through the atmosphere, and it doesn't do anything to anything else. This is a massive piece of machinery going through the air. It's going to create some turbulence at the very least. There's going to be some disruption, especially when you try to drop it down onto a campus, and nothing happens at all. Anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves. I want to talk about the characters. Because the plot is just stupid. Exactly. Holly Hunter, who I adore as an actor. She's done some great stuff, right? Broadcast news, Raising Arizona. She's not a bad actress. Brother, where art thou? But she wasn't a major part of that, but the part that she played was really good. She knows what she's doing. Miss Firecracker. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff. You can go back to Holly Hunter's work, and she's got a lot of great material. She's not a starship captain. She's barely a hippie in this thing. I mean, she's
sit in the chair, for the love of God.
Oh my God. I mean,
sit in the chair. It's not hard. We're doing it right now.
And it gets worse actually in episodes 2 and 3.
How can it? She's sitting in the chair like, for you, those who haven't watched the show. If you can see me, I don't know if I don't have the light.
Yeah.
She's sitting in the chair like this for the book. They've been at warp for like 15 minutes, right? This isn't like, oh, we've been in space for 6.5 hours. My shift's getting I'm kind of getting bored here. I'm getting the book out. Everything's boring. No, it's 20 minutes. She's already sitting like that.
It gets worse in episodes 2 and 3. I'm just going to tell you, you're missing it. She goes barefoot on campus while on duty. She's
on
Star
campus,
Trek.
as in on the ship, you mean?
On the ship, yeah. On the ship. She walks around barefoot. It even gets commented on. I got to let the little piggies breathe, is what she tells her commanding officer. who smiles beneficently and doesn't press the issue.
Is that the guy from The Mummy, or is it someone new?
It's the guy from The Mummy. Yeah, it's the guy from The Mummy.
I think he was in Discovery, but I like that guy. He was great in The Mummy.
Well, yeah, he was great in The Mummy. Yeah, I like that guy in The Mummy too. He was really fun in The Mummy. I love those two movies. Not the third, but the first two. This is Quentin Tarantino's idea of a starship captain, apparently, or at least a female starship captain. I don't know if you know the reference. Quentin Tarantino has a thing about feet. If you ever are watching his movies, there's always some woman going barefoot in his films, and the rumor, the very loud, very consistent rumor, is that he's got a thing for feet.
That is one piece of film trivia I did not know. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Don't think I needed to add that one to my repertoire, but that now every time I watch one of those movies, I'm gonna be like, oh, there's the barefoot chick.
Every time you say, I mean, I'm not kidding you. In every single movie this guy does, there's a woman whose bare feet end up being.
That explains the whole beginning of Kill Bill. She's sitting in
exactly
wiggle your big toe for that scene goes on for a really long time.
It goes on for a really long time. Also these what's it? Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which is a pretty good movie. I actually really like that movie. It's odd, but I like it because I'm a Los Angeles native, and it really does kind of capture the Los Angeles of that time period, 1969, 1970. I was a kid when that time period was in, but into the 1970s, he really does do a nice job of capturing that. But Margot Robbie is sitting in a film theater with her bare feet popped up on the seat in front of her, and the shot is from the feet to her face. This guy isn't subtle. Well, that's Holly Hunter in episodes 2 and 3. She's always got her feet up, and they're either stocking or nothing on them at all. And every time I see this, I keep thinking, is Quentin Tarantino exec producing this?
He did want to make a Star Trek movie.
Well, now he doesn't need to. He can just watch episodes 2 and 3 of this. But this is a woman who supposedly has spent centuries in a military organization who has absolutely no military bearing whatsoever. And I get that Starfleet is also exploration. And actually, that's part of the thing. I don't know if it really comes up in episode 1, but 2 and 3, there's actually 2 schools there. There's War College and Starfleet Academy.
Yeah, they seem to insinuate that the burn, which isn't explained, but I know a little bit about because of when it came up in Discovery, like essentially just destroyed every dilithium crystal in the universe or something, and so nobody could go to warp anymore. And then the Federation like fell apart, obviously, and then now they're like now it has a war college, and that's what it was. And now now they're just getting back to doing Starfleet again the way we would remember it. I think it would be way more interesting if it were the war college. I think you'd have I think this show, the entire premise, would work so much better if they were attending the war college, because then you have a reason to be on a ship. You have a reason for all of the action sequences. You have a reason for all of this other shenanigans going on, and all of the testosterone high school bully nonsense, right? Because we're all trying to be the alpha Chad, captain guy. But instead of doing that, we're gonna do regular Starfleet Academy, where we're minimizing conflict, we're trying to engage in diplomacy, we're all about scientific research. Like,
you'd think that it would be better, but episode 3 is about the interpersonal conflicts between War College students and Starfleet Academy students that, frankly, is every Saved by the Bell episode ever made. I mean,
is it literally just jocks versus geeks? Is that
it kind of is jocks versus geeks, neurodivergence versus jocks. It's
these people aren't neurodivergent. They are stupid.
Yeah.
And I would use another word, but we can't use that word anymore without getting canceled. These people are just stupid.
Yeah. They're dumb. And they're not educable. That's is because it's okay to be stupid at Starfleet Academy. Babylon Bee actually did a really hilarious take on this. I don't know if
I saw that. Yeah.
It's actually great. Yeah.
My take was
But
somewhat more vulgar. You saw I sent you the clip of
yeah,
from down Periscope.
it's great. But I mean, none of this has any sort of military bearing whatsoever, and it's just not Star Trek. I mean, I never saw Discovery, so I know some of the lore in this is related to Kurtzman's Discovery series. I never did watch that. I kind of stopped watching after DS9, and I stopped watching the movies after, uh, Insurrection and Nemesis, which I saw on cable. But
yeah, those were the last ones for TNG. They never did any Deep Space Nine. They never did any Voyager or Enterprise movies. They
I kind of thought that was the case. I thought that Nemesis was the last one, and it didn't do well. And it wasn't great. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. It's watchable.
It suffered from the same thing that they got this idea that from First Contact that Star Trek is like supposed to be an action sci-fi show, and if you look back at like any of the original movies, the action is incredibly minimal. It's really good action, so it's memorable, but it's not that much of the show. And so they suddenly decided, oh, this is a big action show, and so all these movies started being action movies, and it just kind of doesn't work with the format of Star Trek. Like Star Trek is about conflict minimization, which got really bad in the early TNG days because Gene Roddenberry didn't want anyone to have any conflict ever at all, and the writers like, how are we supposed to tell a story with no conflict whatsoever? So that's why he got kicked upstairs. So that's why the Next Generation was so rough the first couple seasons, as they were constantly at war with this, this idea. So
right, Insurrection actually, except for the action sequences were the dumbest part of Insurrection. It was actually not a bad. Wouldn't have been a bad episode. It was also kind of stretched out a little bit too much because they had to make it a feature film. If it had been a TNG episode, would have been a really good one.
Yeah, it would have been perfectly fine. You find the planet of eternal youth. It's in the hands of an alien race that's cooperating with you in the middle of the Dominion War. Like having essentially the ability to rewind everyone is an insane thing to give up. When you're in the middle of a war that's basically decimating your population, like how great would it be to be able to just heal everybody that comes back from the front lines? Like all of those questions would be really interesting to ask as an actual episode, but it's an action sci-fi movie. So
yeah,
we're just going to sidestep all of that.
Well, I mean, where it lost me was they're in the middle of this kind of dumb action sequence. What's that?
Oh, I thought you were going to say they are in the middle of the Briar Patch.
In the middle of the Briar Patch, right? Yeah. And there's a stupid maneuver that, Riker wants to do. And I think Geordi says, when they study in the middle of it, when they study this, they're going to call this the Riker maneuver. And Jonathan Frakes says, well, let's see if it succeeds first, which to me is like, maybe focus a little bit.
Well, he does.
He is using, dead.
He is using a joystick to do that for reasons like. Yeah.
Like the joystick pops up on the console.
It was just like what it wouldn't have been just as effective for him to lean over the console and just go like we know that they do whenever they want the ship to turn. They had to go access manual steering column, the joystick. Then he has to grab it and like what?
But we're not reviewing Star Trek Insurrection.
You can see how Star Trek is the one thing that gets me off my duff and is like, okay, yeah, we're definitely doing the podcast now. Yeah.
So to get back to Starfleet Academy, I mean, you have ongoing. There isn't an original thought or conflict in this thing. In episode 3, you finally get a little bit of action in episode 3. I will say this. It might be slightly better than episode 2 because episode 2 is about trying to convince the Beta Z government to come back into the Federation and lower the shield around their planet that is keeping them from doing commerce with the rest of that part of the galaxy or whatever. And there's all sorts of nonsense in this thing too. The Beta Z leader is deaf, which apparently we haven't solved in the 33rd century.
But who cares? They're telepathic, so
yeah. But he's signing to his own daughter and son during this thing using American Sign Language, no less. By the way,
why is he signing? He's telepathic.
Yes, that's what everybody wants to know. They decide that these very sensitive diplomatic discussions are not going to take place privately, with actual diplomats, with the Federation's, government. They're going to hold it at Starfleet Academy in the lecture hall with all the students present.
I assume this is supposed to be a teachable moment. Is that what they're going for?
No, it's even better than that. Well, these kids are the future, and they're the ones that are going to lead us into this future, and they should be part of this. And it's like, no, they're morons. They're idiots. You're trying to teach them so that they can eventually be part of something like this. But at the same time they're doing this, you've got Caleb, who's the kid who was the master criminal, and as soon as he walks through the portal, this is episode 1 again. As soon as he walks through the portal, gets the haircut and the uniform, I guess it's a transporter type of device, suddenly turns into a clueless adolescent who has no idea. He's just angsty after that. Before that, he's fierce, and he's fighting off guards and stuff like that. After that, he's just sort of an angsty teen who's carrying a bit of a grudge about his mom.
He's clearly a clone. So this was on the what the actual F list, because first of all, why would you build that thing in the first place?
Oh no, you can't put on a uniform and cut somebody's hair.
Like what? Like I could see if they had the futuristic razor, right? Like all right, or the beard shaver, like super, like just goes like this and it cuts. Okay, fine. But you don't even tell him it's going to happen. You're just like, walk. Okay, go walk through the reclamation or whatever what do they call it? The arch. Just go walk through this thing, and it's gonna disintegrate all of your clothes, replace them with other clothes. What happened? What if I had stuff in my pockets, like, and it's gonna cut your hair. It's gonna style your hair, which means it's actually taking parts of your body off now. Like it's bad enough when it's your clothes, right? Where something is close to you, but all right, fine. It's matter that's not actually attached to you. Now you're literally taking matter of someone off. So are we doing a transporter thing where we're not reassembling you entirely, or is it just like an area that
even washed him? I think it even washed him because I think he was kind of dirty and sweaty.
Yeah. So the only thing I can think of is he literally got transported, but he wasn't put back together the way he went in, which means you are not the same person. Like we've all had our gripes about the transporters over the years and how they went from like literally we're taking you apart and piece by piece and sending that atom, that bit of energy down to the planet and essentially reassembling you so that at least there's a fig leaf of you are still the same matter that you were when you left. By next generation, it's like, oh no, we can bounce you off. Like if we bounce off the thing, then you'll split into two people of the same person. Or if you get old, we can just take your pattern and put you through the thing, and you're young again. Like, okay, fine, whatever. It's a killing and reassembling machine. This makes this so much worse because that means it has to work that way, because there's no other way for him to just pop out the other side completely different than he is when he went in.
There was a really good Star Trek novel that talked about that, or a Star Trek book. It may have been a collection of short stories. I read it when I was a teenager. So it was just original series lore, right? And you didn't have anything else. Where it talked about that, where there was some sort of a tachyon shield and somebody tried to transport Spock and he bounced back as a duplicate. And the duplicate was changed in some significant ways. And it raised all those questions, right? So, I mean, I guess they just they don't care about the questions. And this is where it really annoys me. This is where it really gets me. They don't care about the science. Now, I know that science, Star Trek is science fiction, speculative science fiction, but they tried to stick with at least known science to get to the speculative parts. We've talked about this a little bit, the 6-year-old boy getting sucked out into space, but somehow surviving that, I guess. I had assumed that it was some sort of a pod, but I think you're right. I think he just went out into space. Space sucks. It's a vacuum. Nothing, there are no sounds in space, and every science fiction platform, with the exception of Firefly, ignores that when it comes to battle sequences. You hear the explosions and the fireballs, which aren't going to happen in space either. Firefly actually managed to do that correctly. Yeah, they were really good about that. They're the only ones that really ever paid attention to the fact that sound doesn't transmit in space. And we've mentioned this briefly, but let's come back to this. The big climax of episode 1 is Paul Giamatti's got some sort of weird matrix thing that's covering the Enterprise, and it's starting to embed itself into the Enterprise to the point where you can't really peel it off because it's sort of becoming part of the Enterprise.
Programmable matter, which is a whole other can of worms that we don't need to get into.
Right? Yeah. I mean, that's the setup for it. Okay, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. Again, speculative, as long as you're consistent. But in order to undo this, they determine the kids who have not received yet day 1 of instruction on anything.
They're the only ones that have apparently not been killed or immobilized on this entire ship. So.
Right. Yeah, that's the other thing. They're all fine. The actual crew is disabled. They determine that they have to get the frequency at which this thing operates in order to disable it. This is sort of like, which one was it? I think it was Generations, where the Klingon
the shield harmonics.
Shield harmonics, right? The shield harmonics, sort of like the shield harmonics thing, right? Okay. Yeah. I'm okay with that. All right. Whatever. You got to find some way to beat this. I get it. That sounds...
Being competent would be nice, but,
Yeah, it works. So to do this, though, you have to be on the outside of the ship. And to do that, you need to have a spacesuit on if you want to communicate what the frequency is vocally back inside the ship. And yet they picked this guy who, up until this moment in time, was sort of what's the best way to put this? Sort of the token white dude that was the most problematic of all the boys. All the boys, by the way, are problematic, but this guy was sort of the most problematic. He's a bully. He was this, he was that. And then you find out he's actually not a white guy at all. He's some sort of fish guy.
He literally is playing keep away with the Klingon, which, like, of all the people you're going to try and bully, you're going to walk up to the Klingon and be like, "Hey, man, I'm going to take your binocular. What are you looking at with your binocular?" Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, no, I get you. You'd be a legend though for about 2 minutes.
Like, you're just lucky that you picked the one wussy Klingon in the history of Klingons to go up to and be like, "Hey, man."
Who, by the way, turns out to be gay in episode 3.
Of
course. Just to let you know.
Does he fix whatever he's doing with his voice? I don't know if that's just how the actor talks, or he's doing a thing, but it's so distracting.
He's doing a thing, because if you hear him talk, it's not at all. Michael Dorn was basically just doing a slightly deeper, resonant Michael Dorn, right?
Yeah.
He really spoke that way. I mean, obviously he used some, vocal characterization.
He had an affect, but it's still the way he's not trying too hard. Yeah,
he had a deep voice.
He's just talking down a little. Yeah.
And this guy, no, it's definitely an affect. It's not even an affect. They're doing some sort of effect on his voice, because that is not how he usually speaks. I've seen interviews with this guy where he's talking about how basically all of this diversity is going to be so wonderful and blah, blah, blah. So,
Shoot me.
Anyway, this guy who is the most problematic of all of the, baby plebes, converts to his, I forget what it is. He's talking about...
It's some kind of alien form.
He's some kind of alien, and I forget what it is. And of course, he tells them people that he can do this because he's, I'm Corinthian, bitch.
Yeah. We can get into the modern idioms later.
Oh, God, yeah. Which is all through this thing. And then goes out on the hull without a spacesuit. And again...
No, he can survive the 10,000
supposedly
pressure, and he can be outside for 8 minutes in negative 250 degrees Celsius or something.
And a complete frickin' vacuum of space, yes.
Yes.
And then he starts talking into his communicator. And I'm thinking to myself, does anybody on this show understand how sound actually works? I mean, I would expect you to understand that sound is a vibration that moves air.
Well, it's even worse than that, because you have to breathe first.
Well, yeah, that's the other thing too. And where's the air coming from? Even if he survived being out in that environment, which frankly, no. But even if you grant that, all the air would have escaped out of his lungs, or whatever it is that he's got. So
presumably he doesn't have normal lungs because they would have just gone. Like,
yeah.
So yeah.
The science in this thing is so bad. It's just so bad.
You forgot the even worse part, right? Not only is he talking, but when it comes down to reading the frequency back to them, he literally has to say it back to them. He doesn't put it in his little armband that he's using.
Just forward
send it to them.
It's on his armband.
He rattles it off.
Forward.
He rattles it off. He can barely talk because he's dying of freezing to death instead of not being able to breathe anymore. And he rattles it off so fast that what if they missed a letter? Like, what if the kid just didn't hear one of them right? Well, I guess you guys are all screwed. Like, because you couldn't just type it in your armband. You had to speak it.
And frankly, I think I would have been happy if they'd all been screwed, because
that would have been fine.
They might have had to start over with a whole new class for Starfleet Academy with a commander who's actually a commander. And people who aren't so stupid as that they swallow their combadges on day one. How do you swallow a combadge? All right, never mind.
Especially these. They're like this big. They're huge. They're not the little like
on your shirt.
They're not the like little TNG ones that are like this big. It's like this tall. It's like this tall. It's like this. It's almost but maybe half the size of my face. Like, why? How did it even go down your throat?
The problem with this show isn't that it's woke. It's not the main problem.
It's a problem. It's not a problem.
It's not a problem. To speak to the woke issue, what is very clear when you get through all 3 episodes is that you're not watching people go through Starfleet Academy. Starfleet Academy is putting you through Woke Academy, through the lessons that we all learn together, while we're in our safe spaces on Athena, which is docked with Earth. Chris laughing finally.
I just keep coming back to the ship landing on that, and I'm thinking like, so whenever the ship leaves, is like class not in session for everybody who's not going on? Do they have to take everybody? Like, oh yeah, we're gonna go study this planet for the the biodiversity team or whatever. Or do we just?
If you were doing that, why wouldn't you just beam them up to a ship that's in space, right? Spend a few bucks less on a building a ship in space so it can do other things.
And then your commandant of, or whatever she's called, of Starfleet Academy does not have to be the captain of the ship that does things.
She is the chancellor. She is the chancellor of.
It's such a weird choice of. Is that like a common thing for an academy?
For education, yeah. I mean, you have like the chancellor of the University of California system. You have a chancellor for the California State University system, and other schools where you have multiple campuses. Usually you'll have a chancellor.
We always had like every time I went to a school it was president.
President would be of one location.
Okay, so chancellor would be all locations.
Chancellor would be a higher ranking position within the academic structure, which is again another reason why this is a stupid title for Holly Hunter's character.
Yeah, why isn't she just the captain of the Athena, and she's going to pop in and out of the academy? She does like the supply runs. She's the ship that does all the transport for them. That's how she's going to go out looking for his mom while he's doing Starfleet Academy.
Because then you wouldn't have speeches that start off, if you want to serve the Federation, you know what you need to do? Make your bed.
Tell me that doesn't happen.
I would hope that they would recruit people who knew how to make their bed. I would hope that they would recruit people who wouldn't swallow combadges by mistake. More on the science. And I got to say this. You mentioned Robert Picardo's character, right? Who is a hologram. He's a hologram. And you see him in episode 1 being a hologram where, he does the hologram thing where all of a sudden he's sort of,
intangible. Yeah.
Yeah. Late in the episode, what do you see him doing? Carrying somebody down a hallway. Like his arms slung over his shoulder, helping this guy go down a hallway. He's a freaking hologram.
Well, there on that. So the Doctor in particular, back in the Voyager days, ended up with a little technobabble thing that allowed him to be physical everywhere. And when he was being projected, he was a physical entity, which is fine. That is all totally fine. Like him being solid is fine. Him being active is what's wrong. Because when the ship gets attacked, one of the things he says is, "Oh, all the holographic emitters are basically offline, so we're a little short on staff." As in, all of the other holograms on the ship basically aren't working. So him by himself, okay, he's carrying people. All right, fine. Then we have the 5-year-old hologram, who's supposed to be like a teenager but talks like a 5-year-old and acts like a 5-year-old.
I was just about to bring this up. Then why do you even have Sam as the character's name? Why do you even have Sam? And why is Sam programmed to be a neurodivergent 17-year-old rather than, say, a capable 25-year-old? What's the point of that?
And it would make more sense if like Sam had grown up. Like if it was like, okay, we're doing a new experiment with holograms, which have been around for hundreds of years at this point, which is why it doesn't make any sense that she's the first one in Starfleet Academy in the first place. They should have had them forever. But let's say that she's the first one. Maybe she's the first one because it's an experiment where we're just going to make a holographic baby and we're going to let the holographic baby like age, which would be an interesting idea potentially. You know, this is like an artificial intelligence. You could tie that whole thing in. But no, she was programmed like a week before to be that way.
Yeah, because there's apparently some value in being that way. What precisely is the value? Why did they make her arguably obese, at least overweight, right? What's the purpose of that? If you're going to design something like that, wouldn't you design something that was more physically fit, more fit for purpose, I guess you could say, which is another issue that also applies to some of the other academy.
Wouldn't you want her to blend in? Isn't the whole idea she's supposed to not be an obvious hologram? Like that would be my assumption, right? Otherwise, you would make the hologram look
hologram.
Like, well, you'd make it like have 7 arms and you know, and all kinds of tools that pop out and like all of the things that could make her obscenely useful at any given second. But no, you design a
dude. I have no idea what they're doing.
A fat dumbass. Like I don't know.
This is Kurtzman Trek, where nothing makes sense. That science doesn't matter. This is Kurtzman Trek, where all that really matters is that we check all the boxes and deliver all the didactics and
make things go boom.
Make things go boom. And there's nothing wrong with making things go boom. Some of the most fun parts of Star Trek have always been making things go boom. But the thing is that it treated its audience like it was at least somewhat intelligent. I mean, even some of the dumber Star Trek. I hesitate to bring up Star Trek 5 because that was pretty dumb.
Star Trek 5's got nothing on Spock's brain. So
Spock's brain, you know, but at least
what is the name of that episode? The hippie one, the original episode where they got the hippies.
Miri's Children, was that
something like that? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Or Tomorrow's Children, and then Miri and the
Miri was the one with the actual kids.
Yes.
Then there was the hippie one with all the adult
where
like,
Spock's
hippie jam.
playing,
No, it's like the hippie jam band people. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel embarrassed that I don't know the episode title and everything wrote anymore. Like I haven't watched the original Star Trek in a while because it just hurts me now.
There were always clunkers. Even in the original series, even in TNG, even in DS9, there were always clunkers, but they were one-offs, right? They weren't the whole thing. This is the entire setup is just makes no sense whatsoever. It's brain dead. And look, I mean, I get that I'm 62 years old, right? I grew up watching Star Trek, the original series. I got into TNG. I enjoyed DS9 for a while. It was kind of got a little oddly, I don't know if political is the right word for it, because I like politics. That's not it, but sort of like this whole Bajorian.
It was topical. Like it was timely topical, but you could tell they were trying to tell a present day analog.
Yes.
But they weren't doing what they do now, which is where they're trying to lecture you on their point of view. Yeah. It was just like this is what if we did this in the Star Trek universe? It's the same thing like Star Trek 6. What if the wall came down in space? What would that look like? You know, that's how Star Trek used to handle these sort of things. Like what if that was
Star Trek 6 was a great example of having really good action, really good characterization, didn't treat you like an idiot. And again, that's on the strength of the original series and the lore that was in place there that wasn't really impacted by what was going on in the Next Generation and DS9 and some of the other stuff. But yeah, I mean, I didn't actually make it all the way through episode 3. I will tell you the only thing that was really interesting about episode 3 was they had these laser tag games. That was sort of the crux of this thing about the conflict between the War College and Starfleet Academy. I'm not necessarily sure why you're doing this as part of Starfleet Academy if you've got a War College. I mean, I would think the War College would be handling the laser tag stuff. Starfleet Academy would be handling the exploration stuff. But let's just say, right? Maybe there's some cross training, whatever. But basically, this was the laser tag sequence for Starship Troopers without the stakes involved. Nobody's head was going to get blown off because they took a helmet off in the middle of it, right? It was
literally just running at each other, shooting. Is that
just shooting, running at each other, getting, and if you got hit, you got transported into the penalty box or something like that, which is okay. All right, that's fine. But yeah, it was, and they weren't very good at it. Only Genesis and Diem, who's the fish dude that was talking in space, the problematic
Genesis is Planet Forbidden.
Genesis is Planet Forbidden. I loved it when you were tweeting that out. Genesis is Planet Forbidden.
You know what the sad thing is? She's the only character I liked, and I'm like, I know she's the girl boss template, but she seems actually competent, especially amongst all of the. Her being mad at all of them for being stupid is fine because they all actually are stupid. So, and it seems like she knows what she seems like she could be an actual Starfleet cadet, but I'm sure it gets worse later. So
the girl boss stuff gets worse later. But she still remains competent, right? At least through the 3 episodes that I've seen. But I mean, the girl boss stuff gets worse and worse.
I figured it would. It's not as bad in the first episode. I mean, there's so much other stuff going on that, like, if it were on its own, I would be pissed about it. But because it's like the 100th thing down on the list of what's wrong in this given scene at any given moment, it's just like, all right, well, she seems reasonably competent. Her banter with it's the photonic one that she's
Sam
playing games
Sam.
with, it is kind of off-putting. Like, why are you doing that to this person? But for 5 seconds, I just thought to myself, I could believe this character could be in Starfleet. And I cannot say that about any other character in the show.
Well, yeah, I mean, so to give you an idea, this is episode 3 again, right? Diem, who is the fish dude who talks in space. That's Diem.
Space talker. We should call him the space talker.
The space talker, yes.
It's like wind talker, only stupid.
Yeah, wind talkers are cool.
Yeah,
space talkers are really stupid. It's told from his point of view, so the narration is from his diary, star date, whatever. He's journaling. That's all fine and good, and you're getting the narration. Or he's sending a letter back to his home folks or something like that, saying, I told you I would strive to be the best. I'm going to be number one at everything I do here. I'm up early, and it shows him, all of his roommates, including Caleb, who of course is his enemy, but they're going to end up at some point being, buddies. They're going to get past this and be buddies.
Did they not bury the hatchet at the end of the first episode? It looked like they were cool.
But then it comes back again in episode 2. Then it comes back again in episode 3. I mean, it just is ongoing. Yes, you're right. They did. And it didn't take, because they're back at each other in both of the next 2 episodes. So it shows them sleeping in because it's 5 o'clock in the morning and they didn't want to get up early at Starfleet Academy, I guess.
Like, you have a choice. It's like the West Point of Starfleet.
Right, exactly.
Go ahead.
But so he's up early and doing all this. He gets out into the corridor, and Genesis is there, and she's already done all of her workouts. Oh, yes. On days where I'm doing conditioning, I get up at 4:20. And on strength, power days, I get up at 3:30. And, so they're on you. Double dumbass on you, too. Full one from a previous incarnation of Star Trek. It's just good. in the same episode, and this is the Beta Zeds decide to come back into the Federation because there's a boy meets girl, boy loses girl, boy gets girl back thing again between Caleb and the Beta Zed's daughter, Beta Z leader's daughter, who's really
stop for a second. I think you just hurt my brain. The Betazoids want to come back in the Federation, not because they were in the Federation before, not because it's a galactic protectorate with all kinds of resources and things that can help them, but because the daughter of the Beta Z leader has a thing for Caleb, and
they have a thing for each other, and the power of love.
And so she goes to her father and uses her telepathic powers to teach him the power of love means Beta Z has to join the Federation, forget what everybody else on Beta Z thinks. It's a planet. Is that what you're telling me?
I don't want to give away the spoilers, but yeah.
No,
so she ends up enrolling in War College, right?
She's a Beta Z, and she's the famously empathic race is going to go to the War College.
Yeah, she's in War College.
Be a soldier
because
she's not going to be a counselor. She's not going to be a doctor. She's not going to be a cat.
She went to War College, and he thinks it's all about him, and of course she has to put him in his place. Not everything's about you. And then she beats him on the basketball court because she's got a girl boss too, and like I said, the girls are all bossing, the boys are all problematicing, and the instructors are all lesbianing. I'm not at all exaggerating about this. It's
does the second in command ever learn not to yell impotently at the cadets? And
no,
because
no,
I get.
She's dating Tig Notaro, by the way, whose name is Jet Reno.
Oh yeah, now, she's from Discovery too.
Okay.
She was like she was like the chief engineer on Discovery. She was a smart mouth. I've only seen one episode of Discovery. I've only seen one episode of that show. I watched the first one and I realized how badly they were destroying this and I was out. But yeah, so I guess they really like crossovers now. Everything is the MCU now. Everybody's got to have a interconnected universe or whatever. But my problem with her is, I mean, other than the obesity and the fact that her character should not possibly exist because the Jem'Hadar are an engineered race that were created specifically for combat and only combat, and literally were addicted to a substance so that they could only do the combat that the founders. Anyway, my problem with her is she's just screaming impotently at these cadets, and it's like you are not intimidating at all. I understand that you think this is Full Metal Jacket. And you're Arlie Ermy here, but it's not working.
It ain't working.
It's like, can you do anything else? Everything she does is like, I'm just gonna yell at the cadets, like I'm the boss here. And she's like looking up at Caleb, cadet, go get through the magical archway that's gonna cut your hair. Just do it. What are you talking about?
Give me 200 push-ups. Drop and give me 200 push-ups.
But hey, cadet, that is probably being, taken into your induction stuff that has things to do. Just stop and like throw a bag on top of him. Like, he doesn't have anywhere to be or anywhere to go. Like, just stop him.
I'm telling you, you're not missing much. And I'm not sure. I might continue to watch this just to see how bad it gets. It's bad. It's
you're
bad.
Gonna have to give me like weekly reports if you're going to do that.
I might have to do that. I might just have to do that. And we should wrap this up here because it's obviously we're kind of going longer than we initially anticipated.
I told you, man. I was like, it took me 3 hours to tweet it. It's probably going to take us more than the allotted time to talk about.
Well, I mean, it's not really allotted, but I mean, we were going to just kind of do this for 30 minutes and have fun. And look, we're at an hour yet. I
go on for another 2 or 3, I'm sure.
Here's the thing, and this was raised by somebody else on the podcast, and I think that this is an interesting point. We'll finish up on this point, not so much on how awful Starfleet Academy is. I think we've covered at least the high points or the really low points of this series. Why is it still going on? Why are they still airing these things? And this is what I want to ask you. does the subscription model of entertainment basically guarantee that we're going to get crap like this and it's never going to go away because they can afford to do this, because it really doesn't, there's no ratings to deal with here, at least not directly. I'm sure that they've got metrics on this stuff. I mean, the thing is, on episode 1, the metrics were out front. YouTube, I forget who it was. I think it was either Nerdrotic. I think it was
Gary from Nerdrotic. Yeah, he put an action figure of Spock as a live stream, just sitting on his chair, and it got more viewers than Starfleet Academy.
That's 3 times more viewers.
I know, it's crazy. Like, who even? Look, I love Gary. I love Nerdrotic. I love all those channels. Critical Drink, or all of them. They're a lot of fun.
Yeah,
but I'm not tuning in to his live stream to watch the Spock doll. So that's just. Can you imagine? Like, there's that many people who just are watching that out of spite.
Yes.
For this.
Yeah, because they looked at a few minutes of the other thing and decided, I'm out, man. This is not good.
So your question is
the subscription model the problem here? Because there's really no direct accountability for bad material.
That's an interesting question. I think no. And you know why I think no? Because Star Wars is still going. They kept making garbage movies. And I think the problem isn't so much that streaming eliminates accountability, and to some degree it does, because you have to have content, and it really doesn't matter how good the content is as much as it matters how much content you have.
Exactly.
Because if you don't have content, then people cancel their subscriptions. Even if you have garbage content, they want to watch something. So they're always going to be producing. But like, Paramount is not a small entity, right? It's not like they only have Star Trek. It's not like their only thing is Star Trek. We have to produce Star Trek. They can produce other stuff, but they choose to produce this. And it seems to me that we're essentially looking at a welfare program for bad writing, because all of these people, the first batch of them were all the people that would have hated your guts in high school for liking this stuff in the first place. And then for some weird reason, it all became awesome. It all got really good. It all became like the chic thing, right? Geek chic became a thing right about the mid 2000s, right before the MCU came in and then just blew the doors off. I think I blame the Big Bang Theory or something. But geek stuff became cool. And then the MCU came in, and then geek stuff became the dominant force. Like, if you didn't like comic books, if you weren't watching those movies, you weren't cool. So all of these people who have been in these positions, who have been leading the charge in culture and have been the queen bees of their respective universes, suddenly find themselves not only not leading the culture, but actively hating the thing that is popular. So first thing you see happen is they all start pretending, oh yeah, no, I was always a Star Trek fan, right? Well, what's your favorite episode? The one where Kirk dated like the green alien babe. Like, okay, you know that didn't happen, right? But
what were the stakes, right? What were the stakes in that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
why was she green? Why was she green?
You can tell immediately they know nothing about the show, but they also hate the show, and they resent having to make this stuff, right? So you can feel it, like how mad they are. I have to do this stupid Star Trek show. Like, I don't want to. I hate this. So that's why it immediately changes into another kind of show. That's why Starfleet Academy is Star Trek 90210, because the people who are making this, they don't like Star Trek. If they like Star Trek, you wouldn't make this show. You would make, okay, it's the 33rd century. The whole galaxy's been explored. What are we going to do now? We're going to go out to the next galaxy or something. We're going to invent the next warp drive. Now the warp drive takes you intergalactic.
It's warp drive.
Yeah. So
going to bring back transwarp drive.
Yeah. So you would do something like that. Or, my idea for the show was like, okay, you go another 100 years past Picard, and you mimic sort of what we're dealing with now, where you say, okay, the Federation just went through this war with the Dominion. They've been decimated. They don't want to go out and pick fights with anybody anymore. So they're really, really cautious about exploration. They don't want to do any of that. And you've got this one kid, and he's on a ship, and Starfleet is basically a milk run service now. They just shuttle ambassadors from planet to planet, send some supplies around, whatever. And then they run into something. and the captain gets killed, and the kid gets to take over, and the kid always wanted to explore. Like, he grew up on James T. Kirk. Like, he thought it was going to be the greatest thing ever. And of course, they're the only ones that know anything about this new threat or whatever. And so Starfleet has to say reluctantly, okay, well, you're going to go out and find out what's about this. And then suddenly you have exploration again. But they don't tell that. They don't do that kind of show. They do Starfleet Academy, which means what? We're going to trap you on Earth. We're going to yell at you about lefty politics, right? We're going to do interpersonal teenage drama, like all of the things that these people would love to write for if they could not have to write for Star Trek. But Star Trek was popular. Star Trek was where the money was. Well, to some extent, it never really was that, bankable of a franchise. So this is what you have to do now. This is what you have to work on. And then on top of that, we have imported all of the DEI stuff. So now we're hiring people whose qualification is, I look like this. I check this box. Doesn't matter if you've never written anything in your life. Doesn't matter if you've never acted in your life. Doesn't matter if you know anything about Star Trek. It doesn't matter if you like sci-fi. Doesn't matter if you're even a functional adult. You look like this. We need to have one of you, so you're on the ship. And so you just see a total breakdown of everything from the top. And then the brand implodes. The fans aren't happy. They don't care because they hate you anyway. So they start
and their reaction to that is, oh, you guys just hate people who aren't white, which is, pretty damn reductive, but okay.
And every time I hear that, I'm like, if you went back to when I was a kid and being bullied for liking this stuff, you will know that all of us were begging more people to like this stuff. There is no universe in which, like, oh my God, there's a girl who's a Star Trek fan was a problem. Like, that was, you're a unicorn. Please come and hang out with me. Like, I love you. Can we get married now? Like, that was how it was back in the day.
Yes.
And now they're like, oh, you don't want women in your entertainment. And that's how they react. So they then now antagonize the audience. So I think it's just, these people have convinced themselves that they are chasing money that's never going to come. And they all, it's all of the affluent white liberal women who graduated college and their dads own all of these studios, and they go to dad and they say, this is what's going to make money. This is the cool thing. This is the trendy thing. And they put all this money in it. They think it's going to turn around, and it never does. And the only thing I don't understand is why the bean counters don't cancel all of it. And I think they have been, up until recently, just as afraid as all the rest of us of having your entire livelihood destroyed by one of these people who will immediately accuse you of the most horrendous thing in your life. So no, I don't. To summarize all of that, no, I don't think it's streaming specifically. I think that we just have a culture in Hollywood, in all of these major studios, that says it is okay to lose hundreds of millions of dollars as long as we are getting our message through. And that, as you know, has been something I have harped on about conservatism for as long as I've known you, that conservatives do not put their money where their mouth is. They want a return on investment. They want the thing to make money no matter what it is. They're not going to go out and spend $100 million on a movie that's going to make $20 million back just to be able to say, Orange Man bad, our version of whatever that is.
Yeah.
And so for me, I don't think it's streaming. I think it's that. I think it's a combination of politics and people who they have decided they own everything, and you're going to just suck it up and swallow it.
Well, on that note, sort of like a combadge, right? You're going to just suck it up and swallow it like a combadge.
That's an excellent segue callback. Well done. Bravo.
Can't resist that. Thank you. And thank you for a really fun hour-plus podcast on just how awful Star Trek Starfleet Academy is. It's out there, folks. You can watch it for yourselves if you want to. Make up your own minds on this. At least go look at the first episode. It's free. You're not paying anybody anything to watch that first episode. Make up your own minds on it. If you like it, sign up for Paramount Plus and watch the next 2 episodes. But also, maybe you might want to seek some help. Maybe just watch some of the earlier. Watch Star Trek, the original series. Watch Star Trek: The Next Generation. Watch Star Trek 2, Star Trek 4, Star Trek 6. All of the great entries in this what used to be canon, and then avoid Kurtzman Trek. Nuke it from space. It's the only way to be sure. All right, Cranky T-Rex at Cranky T-Rex on Twitter, and you still have your YouTube channel, right?
I still do. I haven't had as much time to work on it as of late, but my last thing was the Superman review, which was okay. And I'm hoping I've been working on this thing for years, ever since this whole Star Trek was always political thing started. This whole rant, and I'm hoping to have it finished in the immediate future, before the Starfleet Academy finally goes off the air and people don't care anymore. That's going to talk about all of this and some of the things we touched on today, like how it was a meritocracy and how we weren't dealing with issues of today, we were dealing with issues of the future. So,
all right, go out and explore explore new worlds and boldly go where no one has gone before. Basically, this podcast, but also Cranky T-Rex, thanks so much for being with us. I can't wait till we do this again. We're gonna have to find a way to do this again sometime soon.
I hope so. It's been a blast, Ed, and thanks for having me.